This is the number one mistake that high ticket experts make when doing cold DMs or outreach on Instagram. So, you're a brilliant expert at what you do, and you spend 10 minutes writing a thoughtful, personalized, and value packed DM to a perfect potential client, only to get left unseen. If this is happening to you, it's not because your offer is bad. Most likely, you've already tried your offer, it's been validated before, and you've already worked with other people who said your offer is great and left you with great results. But the issue is actually in how you're delivering that DM and how that's repelling the high value clients that you're trying to attract. So let's fix that. When you're selling a high ticket, high trust service like life coaching, business consulting, or anything that requires a deep personal transformation from the client, your value packed DM, which is to say basically a feature dump, is actually a big red flag for these people. Why? Because think about it like this. A good therapy session doesn't start with the therapist talking about themselves for 30 minutes. They don't tell you their life story for 30 minutes. They create a safe space and allow you to open up on your own terms. And what makes the difference between a good therapist and a bad therapist is in the quality of questions they ask that allow you to open up on your own without you realizing you're opening up, right? When you send a long value packed DM, you're doing the opposite of allowing these people to create a safe space and open up on their own. Instead, because your DM is so big and so feature packed, you're actually asking for a huge emotional commitment up front by telling them, hey, this is exactly what I do, this is what I need from you, and if we work together, this is how it's going to look like. And if that's the case, how can you improve your messaging as a business coach, as a life coach, as a consultant, or whatever, and actually get people to reply? So everyone buys using two languages. It's either logic or emotion. And your outreach has to closely align with the language of your offer and the language that your ICP is ready to receive. At your mailbox. If you have a quantitative offer, as in services that have numbers and that are easily measured, for example, I'll send 8,000 DMs or I'll edit 30 videos a month. When a prospect sees this, they completely understand what it is that you do, and they understand that whatever it is you're doing is only creating an output for them that they'll later see if it's up to their standards or not, right? These kinds of offers are outside of the prospect. They do rely on you to do something, but it's outside of them. It doesn't affect them. It's not deep inside of them, right? So they don't feel threatened at all. Instead, they just feel risk. They're wondering if working with you is a good investment. They're wondering if you're a credible person, right? Quantitative offers are all risk. But if you have a qualitative offer, as in if you're an expert in life coaching, spiritual guidance, or high level consulting, it's not like you can promise someone that you can 10x their happiness, right? Instead, your promises are usually making their life better, making it less stressful, or giving them a deep and personal transformation to bring them closer to their dreams, right? So when a prospect sees something like this, they don't think about risks, but they feel threatened. They ask themselves, can I trust this person? Am I safe being vulnerable with this person? Because for a quantitative offer, you can kind of get a money back guarantee. You can offer to work for free. But for a qualitative offer where you are asking someone for an emotional commitment, you can't give that emotional commitment back to them if you do a bad job. That's lost forever. It's like trust, right? It's like trust and a piece of paper. Once you crumple that piece of paper, it's never going to be the same way. Try say the same way again, right? And people who are in this field who need your help, they are really, really crumpled pieces of paper already. And that's exactly why your value pack DMs are failing. You are feature dumping these people who have an emotional problem. So to fix this, you have to align the style of your DM with the type of offer you have. If your offer is quantitative, as in numbers, the way you overcome risk, you can do it by being hyper specific. So don't just say I'll send DMs, say I'll send 1,000 DMs. Don't just say I'll edit videos for you, say I'll edit 30 videos for your IG reels, right? You can even go further than that, which is what I did with my offer before, where instead of saying cold outreach, I used a specific term they probably have not heard before to increase credibility that I'm an expert and that I'm doing something new they probably have not heard of before, right? I said, I use a hyper targeted warm outreach method, and that's how I got my first sales. Being specific proves that you've done this before, and it shows that you're a credible expert at the very least. It separates you from that blabbering amateur who just says words and regurgitates them, but doesn't actually, who doesn't sound like he's been in the trenches himself, right? If your offer is qualitative, on the other hand, the way you overcome that feeling of threat is by being very delicate with the prospect and by building rapport with them. Your goal in the first DM is not to sell anything at all. It's to start a peer level conversation and signal that you are not a threat. You need to give them the option to be vulnerable and not demand it from them. If they need your help, they will be more than willing to jump into your arms without you asking them to. But you can't invite them into the arms yourself because that's like a strange, it gives them the same feeling of stranger danger, right? So here's a real world example of a client I used to work with before. This client helps companies hire A player executives, but he did what he did was way more than just find and hire. He wasn't just an outreach person or a recruitment head, right? His offer was a logical masterpiece, and I know it was a logical masterpiece because I used the same framework that I used to create my offer on his offer. So his offer was he would create a DNA framework of the company, extracting the core cultures of that company and the values of the company, and then cross-reference those cultures and values with other A players with the right skills. And these A players with the right skills also happen to have the same culture and values that the company also has. So the retention rate, the happiness level, the fulfillment, working, everything, it would be a perfect fit not just for the skills, but for the ability to thrive in that specific environment with their employees. On top of all that, he eliminated all the risk by saying he guaranteed if the new leader didn't hit their KPIs in 90 days, he would work for free until he found a replacement. And it sounds like an absolutely killer offer, right? If you've ever tried to hire for an A player management manager position, you know exactly how bad and how hard it is when you hired the wrong person, right? But the thing is, this offer failed. We didn't get any conversations. We were stuck with automated replies, and all the accounts that I was using to send DMs were getting banned because my reply rates were so low. But it failed because a founder who is struggling to hire is in a world of emotional pain. They simply do not respond to logic at all. They see a guarantee and they think it's full of shit. So we had to completely change the approach. We had to revamp our whole sales flow to accommodate a more delicate, more open, and more. Um, the new opener we used was specific enough to still not look like a generic DM. We completely changed the approach to something more open and forgiving, and that new opener was far more delicate, right? Instead of a three-touch process where I say, "Hey, hello, do you need this?" or "Hop on a call," it was a seven-step process where we were talking more about how things are going, what's up, what's this going on, and so on. And after we shifted from that kind of messaging into the more qualitative messaging with more delicate, with more patience and more accommodation, we got way more replies and we started talking to real people. So again, if you have a quantitative offer, you should be very specific when you send a DM. And if you have a qualitative offer, you need to be very delicate when doing the outreach, because you can't be pushing yourself into these people's boundaries. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. And I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a like or subscribed. Thanks.